We're here with Greg Drumbour, owner of Sedona Sacred Journeys, and we're continuing our interview with him regarding an inside look at a retreat organization. Greg, earlier we were talking about what isn't being spoken about in the personal growth field, particularly when it comes to parenting, which is an important subject for you. What would you like to share with us about that?
Well, I think that one of the big things that I love teaching parents is what I call the inner parenting mentor. It's just another way of saying the wisdom inside of them. There's this mentor that can help them through the 1,000 moments of frustration they have, the 1,000 moments when they don't know what to do. And all parents know about this place, but they're not really utilizing it. They're not getting into a partnership with it. They're not giving it. They're not inviting its help. So what I suggest that they do is, next time one of those moments come up, is to invite that mentor, that wisdom, to offer them some guidance about what to do. And then to sit back and really trust and faith that it's going to flow up. And then you sort of get that occurring moment, and this beautiful original parenting comes out of your mouth, and the kid goes, "Okay, Dad." And I've gotten amazing emails over the years about parents who really make a commitment to that. Now, the other thing that happens there, which is even more fantastic, is that there are 3 ways, the current research says there are 3 ways that children learn. The most dominant way they learn is they inherit your inner emotional life. The second way they learn is through modeling, of course. And then the third way they learn, which is nowhere near, it's really a distant third, is through direct parenting. And the point of that research is that has nowhere near as much impact as you think it does. So when you're modeling to that child to step back and access your wisdom, what could be more powerful than that?
What other aspects of parenting would you like to share?
Well, it's deep listening. I mean, a lot of my work involves inner children, right? And coming out of my generation, because our parents just didn't know any better, they weren't really acknowledging our feelings. I mean, it's really innocent on their part. But here's the thing, that still goes on today. And parents will sit in the office and they will say, "You're absolutely right, Greg. I am not really listening to my children without anything on my mind. I'm listening through a filter," this is especially mothers, "through a filter of worry, concern, protection, trying to find a clue of how to fix them, listening." And what happens is that kids don't feel like their feelings are getting acknowledged. And it's really innocent on parents' part because they want that child to feel better. They will say things like, "It's okay, it's okay." Or they'll say, "No, you shouldn't feel that way." Well, that's not really acknowledging that child's feelings. So I think that if parents can get really good at listening to their kids with absolutely nothing on their mind, I know that's challenging. I know it is, and especially for mothers. I've often made a little joke that I would love to write a book on parenting, but the problem there is that I have to find a mother to co-author the book with me, because all the mothers will say the same thing to me, Greg. "Greg, you do not understand. You are not a mother." And I got it. I'm not a mother. But could my assertion that if you listen to your kids really just quietly, without concern, without worry, without fear, without the need to protect them, would they really feel like they're being listened to? And especially when kids get upset. There's different kinds of listening. Of course, there's active listening, which a lot of us know about: mirroring, validating, empathizing, and asking what they need. I like an integration of that and deep listening, which is more intuitive listening, which is really listening sort of beyond the words and seeing what flows up inside of you. Sometimes kids talk in code, and there's only one way to try to decipher that code is through your instincts. You can't figure that out.
You described some really wonderful techniques here working with children. Do you find that both mother and father, there's any resistance to this at all? Are they open to these new ideas?
They're very open to it. That's a great question. But the challenge, and this is going to come up a lot in this interview process, is translating that. Yes, Greg, that makes total sense. Yes, I see that I'm doing that. I'm making a commitment to do that. But when they get home, it doesn't happen. What they do, and it's just, I can understand them doing this because all parents want feedback that they're doing a good job. And the way to get that feedback is through direct parenting. Is that the kid says yes, if the kid does what they're told, what you're guiding them to do, then you feel like you're doing a good job. If they don't, then you feel like you're doing a bad job. That happens a lot with mothers, is that they're perpetually filtering everything that they do with their kids through the filter of I'm being a good mother or a bad mother. So then my just kind challenge to them is, well, what are you really then that's what you're teaching your child. You're teaching them to the judgment, right? Because you're in a judgment and a criticism or a constant assessment of yourself. That's the true modeling that's going on there. And I know this is challenging for parents, but I really want to encourage them to get open to these ideas.
That's wonderful. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with regard to parenting in your work with us?
You really want to get, here it is, here's a great way to describe people listening. You really want to get curious about what makes sense to that kid. You want to get fascinated about how they see their world. Let me give you just a classic example that I don't think there's a parent on the earth who won't get this is, you want them to clean their room, right? Why should I clean my room? Now you're going to give them a reason that's going to make sense to you, or because I told you so, right? Well, when kids get to be teenagers, that's not good. Most of the time, it's not going to be good enough. So you want to sort of access that parenting mentor to come up with an inspiration about what would make sense to them to clean the room. Now, sometimes those are very challenging questions, but there is a power inside of you that knows the answer. So you want to get fascinated about how they see their world. And here's another thing that parents are aware of. These kids we were in a different environment than our parents, right? The generational different world. Well, these kids are in a dramatically different world than we were. The information overload it's overwhelming. And what happens is they have all these authority entities that get created for them through TV, the computer, movies, etc. And they will move towards those authority entities as a way of validating feelings that they have that are not maybe really good for them. Right? So the more that you can be in your mental health, the more that you can be in your common sense, the more you can be in your wisdom, that is the high-level parenting. I really believe there are a lot of parents out there that want to go to that level. But you've got to let go of the short-term feedback and know that this is a long-term strategy. There's so much research on this, that parents who live in their wisdom more, parents who have an insight that their thoughts are creating their reality, raise beautiful kids that are very centered and deeply spiritual.
Wonderful. Thank you for your time today, Greg.
Oh, you're welcome.